The first thing you need to do is to cut yourself a piece of the instant nail material a little bit longer and the same width as your nail bed. Measure the instant nail against your natural nail and cut off any excess if needed. The next thing you want to do is to put a curve in the instant nail that matches the contour of your own natural nail. To do this, you want to take the instant nail and wrap it around the manicure stick and create a curve. You want the curve to match the contour of your natural nail. You can also take some nail clippers, lightly hold down the instant nail, and bend the sides to match your natural nail. The next thing you need to do is to apply some nail glue to your natural nail. A thin, even coat applied to about half the nail plate is all you need. Next step is to apply the instant nail as straight as possible. You may need to apply the nail with a slight downward angle to accomplish this. Then hold the nail in place for several seconds. Also at this time, you can check to see that you're not gluing the pad of your finger to the instant nail. Next thing you can do is do a little bit of a rough trim and just cut off the edges of the instant nail. And you don't have to be too precise at this point, just do a little bit of a rough trim. You can also do a little bit of a rough trim at the back of the nail if needed. Next, you want to take a little bit of nail glue and apply it at the seam of the nail. Doing this will allow the nail glue to wick into any areas you might have missed and also seal the nail. Then you can spray the nail with a little bit of nail glue dryer, and this will set the nail almost instantly. And now at this point you can take some nail clippers and remove any excess nail at the seam of the nail if needed. The next step is to taper the nail at the seam. Using a rotary nail file is a very efficient way of doing this. It's very easy to monitor what you're filing, and they're very precise. You can also use a handheld file, like an emery board type file. They take a little bit longer and they're not quite as precise, but they'll do the job. You want to file the nail as flush as possible at the seam. You can leave the seam a bit high, especially if you're using a manual nail file, and then you can finish the taper with some nail glue. Brush-on nail glue works especially well for this. It has a bit more viscosity and you simply brush it on. Next, using a fine grit file, you want to make the area at the seam as smooth as possible. And then you're going to file and shape the nail as you would your natural nail. You can start with some nail clippers if you wish to reduce the length, and then switch to a file. The instant nail has similar filing characteristics to a natural nail. So simply file and shape as you would your own nails. Be sure to pay attention to the sides and the corners of the nail and make it as smooth as possible. Next thing you want to do, if you have a rotary nail file, using an under the nail bit, you can file underneath the nail. You can taper underneath the nail and also remove any unnecessary material. This can also be done to a certain extent using the end of an emery board type file. And next, you can take some 1500 grit sandpaper, fold it a couple times, and then finish underneath the nail. And there it is, a nail that sounds as good as a great sounding natural nail.